Well, hello everyone. I'm Michael O'Connell. I'm joined today by the TIBCO Data Science team for our regular TIBCO Analytics Meetup. We have a number of good topics to talk to you about today. Our Analytics Meetup group continues to grow. You can join the group and receive automatic invites to future Analytics Meetups. Just go to the TIBCO Spotfire online user group, join, and be part of this community, and be part of our general TIBCO Spotfire community. Today, I'm going to give you an update on our recent acquisition of TIBCO, and then we have Venkata giving an update on our XGBoost Spotfire template. Chai and Minerva will be showing some beautiful Spotfire dashboards and themes, and Helene will be giving a community update. There's going to be live Q&A, so please submit your questions at any time via the Q&A option, and we'll answer those at the end or get back to you on email. So, a brief update on our acquisition of TIBCO. It's an exciting addition to the TIBCO product family. TIBCO TIBCO has drag-and-drop, point-and-click interface for creating thousands of statistics, models, methods from a variety of different data sources. It includes the ability to deploy open source R and Python, Spark, H2O type methods in this drag-and-drop data prep, data blending, model creation, workspace creation environment. But that's just the kind of the beginning part. Once you have created a workspace, you have the ability to metadata manage that workspace, and in particular, the models and rules, whether they're created from inbuilt modeling in TIBCO or whether you're bringing in R or Python code, all of those models can be managed on the server. And what I mean by managed is version control, auditable, traceable. Any changes are tracked. You can provide different people access to different models in the database. This allows you to construct workflows that are powerful and can compare one model versus another. So you can do champion-challenger kind of bake-off and decide which model to promote into a production environment and continue to test that and deploy the best model that you've determined from offline data, for example. So that goes hand in hand with this ability to embed statistical models anywhere in a production system, out onto an IoT gateway, embedded in another application, for example, in TIBCO Streambase for real-time data analysis. So these are the three big areas of TIBCO that were key in us deciding to acquire the company: this point-and-click, comprehensive stats and machine learning capability, the ability to manage those models and rules that you've created and track them, version them, deploy them, compare them, and then embed them across the infrastructure. Lots of other features, but those are the three big ones for TIBCO, and this is an example of our investment in AI. Our AI investments are of three types. We are making our software smarter and easier to use. An example of that has been our Spotfire recommendations technology, which continues to get investment and is getting better and better. The second leg of our triple play is to make rules and machine learning techniques available to our customers to create their own AI and machine learning applications. An example of this is this recent TIBCO acquisition. And then thirdly, being able to embed that AI across our infrastructure. So the TIBCO Connected Intelligence Cloud and the TIBCO Insight Platform are examples of that. So you think of the Insight platform, we go from an event to a data, to an insight, to a rule and a model, and then out on into an action. You know, as these real-time events come at you and turn into data, you get insights from those data and you codify those into rules and models that become the basis of taking an action. And TIBCO fits right in there. If we now think of those elements going from insight on historical data to action on real-time data, there's four elements to that: visual analytics for data discovery, data science for creating and managing models, streaming analytics for taking action on real-time data streams, and then case management software for managing cases that show up as anomalies or cases that you have to deal with. And so we have strong product offerings in all these areas, from Spotfire to Statistica to Streambase and to our BPM product, and that's what we call our Insight platform. And really what we're helping you is to go from understanding what has happened with a historical look at data in the past, but then to be able to diagnose why did that happen, and then to predict what's going to happen next, and then to do something about it, so to support a decision or to automate an action. And all the while we're making this level of sophistication and value, we're making it easier for you to get to that value and you know, augmenting your experience as a user. As you see that light green area get smaller. So this Insight platform, 3 components to it. The Spotfire for data discovery and smart visual analytics, and that's the focus of this meetup and today's session. You know, Statistica comes in for the data scientist for creating an set of analytics, rules or models, and codifying that into a model construct that you can then hand off to a development team for deployment into the infrastructure. So that's where our Streambase product comes into play for the developer or the DevOps group. So we now have these strong product offerings in each of those 3 classes, and just to show you an example of how we're working with Statistica and combining it with our Spotfire product and our Streambase product, these are some demonstrations we can give you at another time. For example, when you create a Statistica workspace, you can write out a Spotfire binary data set, and you can launch Spotfire with that data in it. So here's a set of Statistica analytics around creating various control chart calculations, and these have some level of sophistication to them, so that when you push this out to Spotfire, you've got this dynamic limit-changing control chart that we're now able to explore interactively in Spotfire and apply that to data that is surfacing in different data sources. So this combination of doing stats in Statistica and Viz in Spotfire is quite powerful. And there's lots of different applications of that. This is a fairly simple application for control charting. Going out into the streaming analytics area, this is where we've used our business and data scientist tools for Spotfire, R, Python, Statistica, and now we have a model that we can move out into a production setting, for example, a cloud environment all the way down to a gateway, and we can move those models around in a variety of formats in Java and PMML, and Statistica has its own XML representation. We can deploy those out into those environments, and this handshake between data science and development is important as we push from Spotfire and Statistica out into the Streambase deployment area. So we have some demonstrations we can show you at another time about how to take a machine learning model in Statistica, push out the PMML or the Java code, push that into Streambase, and then take an action. So we say build a churn model in Statistica, or rules, or all the data prep and so on comes out into the Java component or the XML component, is pushed into Streambase, and we can then score real-time data coming through and take an action for customers who, in this case, have a high propensity to churn. So those are some things that we can do in the combination of the products, and we can show you those at another time. Basically, Streambase can get at the collection of Statistica models. You can push the Java and PMML into the Streambase workflow for real-time predictive analytics. There's lots of other things you can do in Streambase on the real-time data feed, preparing the data across different time windows. We can publish out the results into our live data mart for live visualization in LiveView and in Spotfire, and that has a rich query interface for doing both where clauses and when clauses across different time periods to do the aggregations and push the results out into LiveViz. So that's it for the introduction today. We're thrilled to have Statistica as part of the TIBCO family. This comprehensive stats and machine learning platform with ease of use, drag and drop is a powerful combination, especially when those models and rules can be managed with metadata in a database on the server that has governance capabilities, applies to different users, version control, auditability, and then the embeddability of those models from the server anywhere across any deployment. No device is too small or too far away. This is a certified, IoT certified application in a variety of ecosystems. So with that as the introduction, I'll hand off to Venkat to talk about our new XGBoost Spotfire template. Venkat?
Sure, Michael. Thank you. Michael, you have to pass the ball. Okay. Thank you. So I will be covering a little bit about the Spotfire template that we have available on the Exchange site. So over the course of this presentation, I will be talking about a little bit of machine learning and how XGBoost fits into that story and the general introduction. So that's going to be 2 slides. Then I'm going to talk about some implementation use cases in the sense that what business problems it can solve, the template itself, and XGBoost, and how Spotfire fits into this machine learning story. And then we will look at a business case just to demo the template, and then I can tell you where you can download it from. So machine learning itself, it's sort of one of the definitions that was given was it is the ability of computers to learn without being explicitly programmed. So this was a quote by Arthur Samuel in 1959. And 2 of the main techniques that are used in the industry today are supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So the diagram that you see on the right is a fairly decent explanation of where supervised learning and unsupervised learning fits into the machine learning story. So supervised learning is a technique where you have an outcome variable. So if you have something like propensity to churn, or what is the yield of a product or something like that in the manufacturing industry. So that is an example of a supervised learning problem. So you can solve numeric problems, or you can solve 0 or 1, or you can have a categorical feature, categorical target variable or outcome variable, where you have 1, 2, 3, or how many other numbers labels that you want. So some of the techniques that are used in supervised learning are linear regression, bagging, boosting, deep learning. So these are some features that are used in supervised learning. In unsupervised learning, that's a technique where you don't have an outcome variable, and the primary focus there is to try to find anomalies in the data. So you're trying to cluster a bunch of data points and then say this particular data point looks dissimilar to what to the rest of the data set. So some of the examples are k-means clustering. Then you have the autoencoder, which is anomaly detection, where you have an unsupervised neural net, and you have principal component analysis, which is used for dimensionality reduction. So these are the generally used algorithms for unsupervised learning. The focus of this particular presentation is going to be on boosting. So boosting is a part of supervised learning, and you have several different techniques. So XGBoost is just one type of boosting. You have the gradient boosting model, and you have the ADA boost, which is also a slightly different variation of boosting. So gradient boosting, XGBoost, the full form is extreme gradient boosting, and this particular technique has become very popular in the last few years, particularly because of its performance in Kaggle competitions. It is basically an ensemble model where you are building a number of trees and trying to average out their predictions. And the advantage here is you're building trees one after the other. So you build one tree, try to understand how it is performed, and try to improve on those mistakes. So whatever you've misclassified or mispredicted, you're trying to improve on those particular predictions in the next tree. So it's an iterative process. And you do this by giving more weight to wrong predictions, And some of the tuning parameters that you can use to tune these trees is what is the number of trees. So I have 2 trees here, but if I want to have 100 trees, 250 trees, 300 trees, so that's something that you can specify. You can also specify the depth of each tree. So I have about 2 levels here, but you can specify the depth of the tree. Some of the advantages while using XGBoost is that it builds more accurate models because you're building several resident trees and trying to average it out. And you have a very good model training performance with XGBoost itself because of the cache optimization and some of the other features inbuilt into that algorithm. But it does take a little more training time because it's an iterative process. So that is one disadvantage that we can think of. Moving on to the business problems it can solve. So it's primarily used for 3 sorts of problems. So the first one being a regression problem. So a problem where you have a numerical target column, numerical outcome. So if it is going to be something like number of units sold of a particular product, what is the price of the product, or what is the yield? So we've already seen some examples in the oil industry where we're trying to predict what is the yield in a particular oil well, or what is the produce going to be in the next agricultural season. So those are some examples. Then you have a different sort of problem where you're trying to predict between 0 and 1. So is this particular customer going to churn or not churn? Or in the credit card industry, so as soon as I swipe credit card, you're trying to understand if that person is fraudulent or not, or is a particular insurance claim fraudulent or not, or if a machine is likely to fail in the next few days. So these are particular use cases that are specific for 0 or 1 classification problems. So you have a third category where you're trying to predict an outcome which has to be either 1, 2, 3, or 4. So you primarily see these sort of problems in the insurance industry, where you're trying to understand which particular insurance product a particular customer is likely to purchase. So is he likely to, if I'm a younger person, I'm likely to purchase a different sort of an insurance product than somebody who is older than me. Or if you're looking at the retail industry, what products can I market to what sort of people? So that's a very useful way. And you also see these sort of problems in the technology industry, where they're trying to do image classification or something like that, some of the more complex models. The Spotfire template itself has 4 main features. The first one being data access. So it gives you the ability to bring in your own data and in any sort of format that you wish. So it can be a CSV file, it can be a text file, it can be XLS file, or any other sort of format. And then you can wrangle that data. So you can create new calculated columns if you want. You can select only certain rows of data for your analysis, or you can select only particular columns for the analysis, or set the data type of your column. You can also do a lot of machine learning. So in the sense that you can build a gradient boosting model using the grid search technique, and you also have cross-validation built into the model. So it makes your models more accurate and more generalizable. So it will fit properly on new data. And the template also gives you outputs about your model, how the model has done, performed, and what is confusion matrix in case of 0-1 problems. It also gives you an insight into what are the most important variables that helped make this while building this model. So we're going to look at a business case. In this case, it's going to be a telecommunication industry churn analysis. So we know that there are about 380 to 400 million subscribers in the US, and there's an average churn of 1.9% per month. And 17 to 20 million of new subscribers usually come from other wireless providers. So if you are a Verizon customer and you move to T-Mobile or some other wireless provider, that you fall in that category. And this is a number that is a yearly number. If you have timely intervention, you can avoid a loss of around $62 per customer per month. And this sort of adds up to a lot of saving for each of these wireless providers. So for this analysis, we're trying to look at a data set which has 16 columns, 12 of them numeric and 4 of them categorical, and there are about 5,000 rows of data. Some of the columns in this particular data set are customer status, which is going to be our outcome variable, what we're trying to predict. And you have the gender of the person, what sort of handset he or she is using, and how much data has been downloaded or uploaded from that handset. What is the total number of incoming or outgoing calls? So these are some of the features that are there. I'm going to switch over to the template now. So when you open up the template, this is the first screen that you will see. You have an easy-to-use icon-based navigation system here. So it'll help you navigate to these pages. So if I want to directly go to the machine learning model, you can hit that icon. So the first first page is going to be the introduction. The second page is going to be a little bit of an explanation on XGBoost. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And how it is different from a normal gradient boosting model. You also have an explanation of the tuning parameters that are available and a range of those tuning parameters that you can enter. Some of the features of XGBoost are also available here, in this section. It's very important to the technical setup is one of the most important pages on this demo, and we need to make sure that we have all these R packages installed. So you can check if these packages are installed using this button, and if you have some other packages that are missing, then it is likely to show up as an error here. On this page, you can import your data. So you can go to replace data table, file, or any sort of format that is preferable to you. So you can go to file and select the file of interest. So the data that I've imported has a customer status, which is the outcome variable that we're trying to predict. The initial channel which is used to get that customer. What is the handset? What is the gender? How much was charged for extra texting? What is the extra charge for data? What are the total incoming calls, outgoing calls? Then you have the data uploaded, data downloaded. You also have a second table here if you want to input your unseen data. And so the model that you build using your training data can be used to predict the unseen data. So that's another useful feature that is available. On this page, you're trying to understand each of these columns. So what is the distribution of this column? And you can also filter to a particular row. So in this case, I can say I only want to look at I only want to use this template for male participants. So that could be one way to filter to particular rows of data. So I can select only a limited set of rows and use that for the analysis. I can also select them here if I want to use only only a part of the distribution. On the next page, we can look at the assign variable roles. So this is a page where you can set the columns that you want to use for the analysis. So you want to set what is the response variable and what are the explanatory variables that you want to use for building your model. So in this case, I've used customer status, which is going to be a target variable, and I've used a few columns as for prediction, as our explanatory variables. On the next page, you can also search for any other variables that you might want to search for, and say clear variable search will empty this and give you the entire list again. On this page, you have a bunch of tuning parameters on the left side where you can specify the number of trees you want to build in this column, in this field. So if you say the number of rounds is 250, I'm building 250 trees of depth 4 and learning rate of 0.001. this is the most important part of building a machine learning model, where you have to tune your model to predict on that particular data set. So this is the explanation is available here, but this is one of the most important parts of the template. On the right here, on the top, you have a visualization where the interpretation here is the straighter this line, the better your model is performing. So that is something that can help you build a more generalizable model. On the right here, you also have ROC curves, which stands for receiver operator characteristic curves. And the interpretation here can be that the closer this curve is to this point, the better your model is. So that is an intuitive way of explaining the ROC curves. You can also have the accuracy of your model here. So right now I have about 80% accuracy in using the model I built. You also have the confusion matrix, some of the other information like kappa scores, what is the sensitivity, specificity, and this sort of useful information is available. You can also get an insight into the most important variables that helped build this model. So in this case, its extra charge per calls was a very important feature while predicting which customer is likely to churn. So these are, this is a small walkthrough of the template. You can find this template and some of 31 other analytics components available for download on the community exchange. So that's the link to that is available here. So community.tibco.com/exchange. So just to give you a small recap, we spoke about the XGBoost model. We talked about the supervised learning technique and what sort of predictive power and training performance it provides. We also talked about what sort of problems the XGBoost model and the template can solve. In this case, it's regression, classification, and multi-class classification. We also talked about some of the template features where you have grid search, one-hot encoding, etc. We went through a demo where you can import a data, select what data you want to use for analysis, select your tuning parameters, and also derive insights from that data. We also spoke about where this template is available for download. I'm going to hand over now to Shai for building beautiful dashboards. Just one second.
Okay, thank you, Venkat. All right. Okay, so in this segment of our meetup, my colleague Minerva and I will be telling you about how we can build beautiful dashboards using visual themes in Spotfire. And I believe a number of you are familiar and expert users in Spotfire. However, if you are relatively new to Spotfire, you can actually customize the look and feel of your dashboards that you built in Spotfire to something beautiful, something which also could conform to the look and feel of your corporate identity. So we'll be talking about that, how to use different, how to apply a different look and feel to your dashboard in Spotfire, apart from the default. And now, how do we do that? So we do that through this concept called visual themes. And in Spotfire, it comes with two default themes, the light theme and the dark theme. So whenever you open a new analysis or create a new analysis in Spotfire, by default, it gives you the light theme. You can also easily switch to the dark theme. And then there's also one thing called the custom theme within Spotfire that you can configure. And this is what we'll be talking about today. And to do that, we'll go through some basic concepts in what makes up an analysis. And when you open Spotfire, this is what you will see. This is not the actual Spotfire UI, but then this is what makes up a page within Spotfire. So on top, you have the tabs with your page navigation area. And at the bottom, this is your visualization area where all your visualizations go. Each of these blue box is your visualization. In each visualization, you have the title, and then you have the content. Now, the reason that we are talking about this is that this is a model within Spotfire of the components. What's within a component? Okay, so each one of this is a component, and every component consists of a similar group of elements. You have your border, you have the space between the container of the component and the border itself, which is called the margin. The actual content is within here, and then the space between it and the border is a padding. And then every border will have a radius to it. You can set the radius to 0. You can set it to something. This is what explains the elements, say for a visualization title, and then you see that the dotted lines here correspond to the content. Like this blue dotted line is the content of the visualization, and the red dotted line is the content of the visualization title. So the reason that we are going for this is because these are the elements that you can control within custom themes in Spotfire. In Spotfire, in the toolbar, you see this button, the black and white button, and it is where you can select the theme you want to apply, the light one or the dark one or the custom one. And then if you go to edit custom theme, this is where you get you get a setup window like this, and you can see that the tabs in this window actually corresponds to those elements, the components that you see on the page here, your page navigation area, your visualization area, your visualization general, which is this general area here, and then visualization titles. And you can see that this is the background color, the padding, the borders, the corner radius, which corresponds to these elements here that you can adjust. So once you have adjusted this, this is how you set up a custom theme, which my colleague Minerva will be showing you later on. You can then save this custom theme and share it with other people to reuse. Similarly, you can also take a custom theme that has been configured by a colleague and use it, apply it within your Spotfire analysis. And the way these custom themes are shared is through a DXT file. So you simply save your analysis with the custom theme as a DXT file, either as a file or save it to the library, and somebody else can pick it up later and apply it to their analysis. So at this point, I'll hand over to my colleague Minerva, who will be showing you how to use custom themes in Spotfire. And then I'll jump back in again and talk about the use of colors in color schemes, and then we continue with the demo. So I'll hand it over to Minerva at this point.
Thank you, Chai. I'll go ahead and share my screen. So as Chai said, the purpose of this demo was to align Spotfire with your corporate visual scheme in a manner that's reusable, modular, and seamless. So reinforcing all that Chai just said right now, I'm going to show you a hands-on version of exactly that. So here's my tab ground zero. This is how Spotfire looks and feels if you just open it up and put in sample data and, have a dashboard created within 4 clicks. But this is not what Spotfire has to offer in terms of visual harmony. If there is a coloring scheme or if there is a certain set of visual practices that your organization conforms to, Spotfire can make it happen and make beautiful dashboards with it. So let's go ahead and look at the Edit Custom Theme menu. As you see, I have the default white theme, and when I open this menu up, I have a grayed out theme. That's because I adjusted the few properties that were mentioned earlier. These properties can greatly enhance or make your visualization look like something you wanted to. But in addition to it, you don't have to go through this process iteratively. You don't have to go to one tab or one DXP, select a few colors from this, and then have it implemented in your visual, you can have a master theme created and apply it to individual DXPs. So that is something that we will see just now. The idea behind this tab was to show that Spotfire, right out of the box, does have a group of coloring schemes for certain variable types. And these schemes have been built keeping in mind what a user would best perceive in colors and visuals. For example, Spotfire conforms to the rules of 3. This is a visual best practice rule that states that at an average, human beings can see 3 shades up and 3 shades down for a given gradient in a color. And these visual practices are incorporated right out of the box. So having covered a few basics, let's go ahead and see an example. Now this is a dashboard that a colleague of mine created. It's a beautiful dashboard that tends to show, KPIs and high-level overview of an academy. And what I love about it is that it conveys information beautifully. What I don't love too much is the fact that there isn't a harmony in the color scheme across tabs. Now this might suit some users and it might not be as appealing to some others. So to rectify that, I just made a few tweaks and made this theme look a little more subdued, a little more mellow, and uniformly colored in all tabs. Oops, sorry, that was not a part of the visual. So the idea here is that you can have this particular theme to translate to our theme right here. So let's go ahead and do that. If I go to the Visual Themes tab and say Import from File, I can go ahead and import this exact DXP. This is not a special file type. It's a DXP file that puts in the borders, padding, margins that you have set from a previous file into your Spotfire visualization. Now this one says there are clashes in font settings. We don't mind that. And as you see, a few changes were instantaneous. Padding changed, the titles were colored differently, and in general, the look and feel changed. Now you might ask that the visualization colors have not changed yet. And that's because there are 2 parts to customizing the DXP to look different. The first one is themes, and the second one is the visual coloring aspect. Before we delve into that, Chai will be covering a little theoretical aspects about what kind of variables exist in Spotfire. So Chai, I will move on to the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Minerva. All right, so colors. Well, I would say that colors are to visualizations what writing style is to writing. Basically, you use colors to bring your audience into the story of your visualization. And in Spotfire, it gives you various options to configure your color schemes depending on the types of variables that you are using, either categorical variables or continuous variables. And I'll go through some examples here. First, we have categorical variables. So Spotfire lets you color your variables by category. So on top, you can see example where we have 1 color for male, 1 color for female. And then also with categorical variables, Spotfire lets you assign colors by rules. So at the bottom, we have the revenue, a bar chart showing the revenue of 6 different products. And then the message that we want to show here, or the question we want to ask here is, how is product E performing compared to other products? So we are just setting a color to product E, and we leave the colors of the other products to gray, so that product E stands out, and you can see immediately how is the revenue of product E compared to others. Next slide, please. Mm-hmm. All right. So moving on into continuous variables, there are a couple of different options available to set up a color scheme. So first, you can use a gradient color scheme for continuous variables. The example on top given here is a plot for variable importance in creating predictive models. So in running the model, we can tell which predictors are the most important in predicting, let's say, whether somebody will buy a certain category of product. So we just set the darkest color, darkest shade to those most important variables. The higher the score, the most important variable is, and then the gradient goes down with the least important variables colored as the lightest. So in this case, you can see at a glance which are the most important variables in your predictive model. And then we can also assign color to a range of values for continuous variables. Example, in Net Promoter Score, so a lot of us will often get this survey question, how likely is it that we'll recommend a business to our friend? So you given a scale of 1 to 10 to answer. So while this answer that you give is not actually the Net Promoter Score itself, but it's used to gauge how engaged, how much of a promoter or a detractor a customer is. So from 9 to 10, if your answer is 9 to 10, you are a promoter of the business. If you are 7 or 8, you are just a passive, pretty neutral. And if you are 1 to 6, your answer is 1 to 6, you are basically a detractor of the business. And then here we are assigning colors according to the range of values of how a customer answer the question. Next slide, please. So we have more examples of color schemes that can be applied to continuous variables in Spotfire. Similar to categorical variables, we can assign colors by rules. The example given here is which products do not meet their revenue target, and those are colored in red. So this bar chart is actually the same bar chart as the previous one with the 6 products that I showed, that one which we're interested in how is product E performing with respect to others. And note that because we are trying to answer a different question, we are trying to bring the audience attention to something different, we can do so by applying a different color scheme to the bar chart. And then at the bottom, we give an example here where continuous variables can also be treated as categorical variables, and then we color the values by unique values. What we have here is the number of units sold of a product over 3 years, actually 2.5 years for every month, and then we color the lines by the year of the data. So the darkest color is 2017, and then the blue gets lighter as we go back in time in the year. And then next slide, I've discussed the different examples of applying color schemes to categorical variables and continuous variables. And similar to using custom themes, once you have set up your color schemes, you can save them and then share them with others. Color schemes are saved as a file with extension DXP color. So for each visualization, you have the properties panel, and colors are controlled in the colors page of this properties panel. And then there's the button that you see that is from which there's a dialog box coming down. That's where you click for you to either open an existing color scheme that somebody else has defined from the library or from a file, or to save the color scheme that you have defined and share it with other people as a file or save it to the library. Okay, so I'll pass it back to Minerva, who will show you more about the hands-on approach in applying color schemes in Spotfire.
Thank you, Chai. All right, now that there's information and a little knowledge about the continuous and categorical variables that Spotfire has to offer, let me go ahead and apply a color scheme to this chart. So right now, I'm going to open a color scheme from File. As mentioned, we are going to apply the categorical color scheme, and we're going to match colors only. When we do this, you see that sets of oranges and grays show up. The most asked question here happens to be that, all right, now I have it on one, do I individually have to go to each categorical visualization and add a color to it? And the answer is no. You can go right here. You can go to your Colors tab. And well, right now, the idea is to go here and apply it to all kinds of visualizations that exist in your DXP file. Remember, a coloring scheme for continuous variables works for continuous variables, and the one for categorical works for categorical. Now, I have the option to include all visualizations nonetheless. They are arranged per tab, and you can see the kinds that exist inside. Just for the sake of convenience, I will go ahead and add everything into the mix and show the nuances of doing that. So when I do add it, immediately you see that there are changes that are reflected in the pie chart right here. But also, they're probably not the best selection of colors. You can mix them around. Right here, the line chart just doesn't look good enough because you obviously don't want grays and blacks to depict changes in colors. And that's because you're dealing with a different coloring scheme. It's continuous variables in the mix. And also, like here, the continuous variables just haven't changed. So the solution to go here, our go-to solution here would be to have a separate coloring scheme for line charts so that you know that these variables translate into something more meaningful in this visualization. For the part right here, there is a very easy and quick fix that is pretty similar to the one you saw. So I'm going to go here and I see that my present coloring scheme is based on a gradient mode. Out of the box, Spotfire offers a few gradients. These might or might not be useful in your organization. So after you make the coloring scheme, you just go and do something from File. This is something that I already have made. So I select this, and you see this is similar to the master DXP that I had customized earlier, and it reflects right here. So keeping this in mind, the first question that arises is, okay, now I know how colors can go in different visualizations, but what kind of colors do I choose? So yes, there's an option to go inside and have a trial and error setup, but that's very unproductive, and often your eye can't gauge the different gradients as effectively as computers can. So my go-to is this site. There are a bunch of others like this, and you can choose your favorites. And what it does is, given a hex value for a color or given an RGB gradient for a color, you can go inside and generate a few color schemes around that color. So I'm choosing a pale blue right now, the light pale blue, and I get a different gradient of colors right here. I could choose, let me go back here. I could, my idea was to choose different gradients inside this yellow or different gradients inside this green. And I could do that as well. Now, how does a hex value translate to the Spotfire color scheme? That's a very easy fix. For example, right now, I'm dealing with this value. So what I can do here is go to this, and I copy this value right there. I go back to my Spotfire visualization, and I go to this particular tab, which isn't looking very impressive. And I want to change this value. So I go here, and I can go ahead and put in my hex value to translate to this color. Often, we have a few kinds of visualizations that require an RGB gradient. And to deal with that color scheme, you have to have the RGB values put in. So I have to move this a little here. What I had done, I have to do this just because I had a little fact box showing me exactly the colors that I wanted to translate. Here it is. So let's go ahead and do it with this pie chart instead for demo purposes. So I go to my Colors tab. I want to shift this orange to a different blue that I had saved in my RGB tone. So the easier way would be, yes, I'll go to a particular value here, but the other way of doing this could be I could go here, and right now it's a yellow, so I could go here, see my alternative shades, say I want this exact fade, and I go and pick my RGB value. What I had done in my Spotfire visualization was to have these RGB values inside my chat box, so that I didn't have to go to and fro in tabs, and I could put 168 for R, 208 for D, and 219 for B. I know this is tedious, but if you want an exact match, it's a one-time investment for a particular variable type that can be replicated onto different visuals without much hassle, either through scripts or through the buttons, pressing different buttons in a DXP. So that's something that can be reused and is modular. So let me go back and go to the browser and show you the color brewer scale. So the color brewer scale is built by a very prominent cartographer, and this, if you see closely, this is the color palette that we use. Like the tab that I showed earlier, the color brewer scale has a few palettes that synchronize very well with each other and look very good on a DXP. And these can be used. I have one tab open in my target DXP right here. Now, as you have gotten used to the orange, gray, and yellow scheme of things in this, the palette also had a different scheme for changing one shade of gray to blue, and this was very easy to do. I just had to go in my theme and change the gradient from gray to blue, and it was put into my visualization just 10 minutes. So that's it for the hands-on part. I will pass the control back to Chai.
All right. Thank you, Minerva. All right. So we've gone through some examples and live demo of how to use visual themes and color schemes. Let me also bring up one example of how TIBCO uses the visual themes ourselves. So our team does post a lot of content onto the TIBCO Community Exchange, and then we have created our own theme for our DXPs. So for example, templates and the templates that Venkat showed earlier on. So we apply this uniform theme to these sets that we publish onto the exchange. And talking about the exchange and the community, so we cover custom themes today, we cover color schemes. There are actually a number of themes that you can download from the community today. I have the link here, and there are also color schemes that you can download from the community. So I'll bring you over to this community page, and if you follow the link on the slides, which will be shared with the audience later on, you come to this page for visual design best practices for TIBCO Spotfire, and that will bring you directly to this section on custom themes, and you can click on this to download those themes, and as well as the color schemes. Another place where you can get custom themes is this website called exchange.ai. So this is a website that belongs to one of our partners, TIBCO's partner. And on this page, it's basically an online store, an app store. So you go to explore this store. So they'll bring you to a catalog of items in the store. So I can narrow down my search to Spotfire and to Spotfire themes. You can see that there are 14 listed. So some of these themes are paid, but there are quite a number of them that are free for download as well. And you can look for one that you like and then download them from this website. Okay. And we do also have the link to exchange.ai on our slide. And that comes to the end of this segment of the presentation. For more information about the topics covered here, themes and color scheme, you can refer to our Spotfire user guide with the link here. Today's content is also posted on the community wiki. I provided the link down here. So with this, I'll just hand over to Helene, who will give you an update on the community.
Thank you, Chai. Okay, so just a few minutes left to wrap up and remind people of the content that's available in the community, everything that was just presented and more. For those of you that are not familiar with the TIBCO community yet, the easiest thing to find it is just Googling community or TIBCO community on Google, and you'll find it. If you register once, you'll be able to edit, to provide comments, to ask questions. And the main components of the community that are good to remember are the answer section. This is really where you ask questions, but where we provide you answers, both the technical TIBCO community as well as your peers. And it's always good to search for questions before you post a new question. Only for Spotfire, we already have more than 10,000 questions answered. So there's a good reference there. The wiki is the next important section. Chai and Minerva just showed a number of pages that are relevant. This is where we post all our product information, all the tips and tricks, anything about how to use our software, and in our case, Spotfire, because the community covers all our TIBCO software, but today we're talking specifically about Spotfire and Statistica. And then the exchange, this is where Venkat demonstrated the templates that are available. We've got 32 of those, and you'll be able to download them, provide feedback, find all the details there. And the ideas portal is where you can suggest ideas and comments about the products if you'd like to see any product improvements, and you can interact with our product management team and other people using the software to provide comments about these ideas. So we had a question about this as well, that all of the recordings and presentations will be posted on the TIBCO Analytics Meetup page on the community wiki. Videos will also be posted via YouTube. The wiki is always a good starting page, the Spotfire wiki. We segment the information sort of, easy to find for you. So when you click on any of those icons here on the main page of the Spotfire wiki, you can go into core capabilities, to more advanced capabilities, or industry solutions. Last TIBCO Analytics Meetup, we showed a lot of the details about the geo-analytics capabilities of Spotfire and all the information that's available in the community. Just wanted to remind everyone that that's available. We get a lot of positive feedback on this part. We also have extended the industry solution. So this is where we sort of gather all the information, but then specifically for an industry. We've just added a travel and transportation section as a result of an industry session series that we did at TIBCO now in Berlin. There's also a new telco section, so keep your eye out for these, and please contribute if you have more use cases and examples to present. We also make sure that we list out all of our public customer stories related to any of those industries. So hope you enjoy these selections of content. This is the example of the travel and transportation page. And all the links are on this slide as well, which we'll share with you later, so you can go back and take a look at those. They're just to help you navigate all the different type of content on the TIBCO community. Scripts and extensions is an important part of our products. We didn't do any demos today. I just wanted to give you an update that the alerting extension is now available as an additional purchase on top of Spotfire. So we demoed that before. It's now available as an official product. So just wanted to provide that update. Also, we have frequent updates on the Spotfire software now. So whenever a new version comes out, you'll find all the latest in terms of the new features and capabilities on the TIBCO community, usually with videos and tips and tricks, so you can try out all these new capabilities on your own. And then Michael introduced TIBCO Statistica. We're starting to collect and share information on how to get started with TIBCO Statistica on the community as well. So this is a separate product section with cross-links to the Spotfire pages as well. So I hope you enjoy that, and please look at the sort of increasing content that we'll be sharing with you on this page. This is the link to the page that Minerva and Chai just showed. So if you want to try this at home, so to speak, all this information will be available for you to sort of remind yourself of what you've learned. And then on the TIBCO Community Exchange, this is where you'll find the template that Venkat just demoed to us. There's also a new insurance pricing accelerator. That's an extensive template or an accelerator, which we'll probably demo in the next TIBCO Analytics meetup, because this is just published and it's really worthwhile taking a look at. It's about real-time pricing and covers the TIBCO Insight platform, as Michael talked about at the beginning of our TIBCO Analytics meetup. Finally, a few tips on how to engage with our community. We do this through the TIBCO Analytics meetup, but there's also a TIBCO Spotfire quarterly newsletter you can sign up for. The information is also on the community. There is a Dr. Spotfire WebEx session. I've mentioned this before, but it's useful to remind you this is where you can bring your own hands-on sort of questions that you have about the analyses that you're trying to do. And our data science team and analytics experts will help you answer those. And you will learn from other questions as well. And we'll be using the questions that are posted on the community as sort of an agenda to represent sort of the most frequent questions on Spotfire. And if you'd like to meet people in person, on the main page of the TIBCO community, there's a link to the software, any TIBCO software meetups. So not only virtually, but also, face-to-face. You can meet people in our offices or in our customers' offices or partners' offices to see demos and updates on the product as well. So last but not least, just a shout out for the Digital Smarter TIBCO Now conference that's coming up in San Diego. We've just finished the one in Berlin. I was lucky to be there myself, really enjoyed it. It was a sold-out event. We're hoping the same for San Diego. It's October 25th and 26th, so please put it in your calendar. It's the user conference for all of TIBCO, where you'll see lots of customer presentations, product updates, meetup type events. So we look forward to seeing you there. The registration is already open. So with that, I think we have a couple of minutes left, Chayi, for a question. If there's an urgent question, maybe you can ask this now, and then we'll have to wrap up.
Right, I do see a question on the Q&A panel, and please do feel free to answer our questions there. So the question here is, I saw a gauge in the first DXP and I need to know how to make it. All right, so the gauge is something which is added through D3. So we have an add-on called JSVIS framework, JavaScript visualization framework. So I'm going to post that link to the Q&A panel, and basically that framework allows you to embed JavaScript visualization within Spotfire. So check out that page and look for those examples on the page.
Okay, thank you, Chayi. I think we're running out of time, so there are more questions. We will answer those through the meetup or to you individually. We'll be posting all the recordings and the PDF of these presentations through the meetup as well, and on the TIBCO community, so you'll be able to review this and share with your colleagues as well. I'd like to thank everyone for attending, and thank you for everyone in our team for presenting. And we look forward to see you again after the summer holidays for the next TIBCO Analytics meetup. Thank you very much.